This is a video concerning mitigation. What I'm talking. Pops, Plosives, and General Bluster. General Bluster. What do I mean by that? I'm going to show you right now. I'm on the SM58. And you know what Pops and Plosives are. Oh, Lord have mercy. You know what Pops, I'm going to have to edit that before I make everything else much quieter. We're talking about that. Sounds very odd. Nope, it's just the way it sounds. And all this kind of thing. I've done a video on it before. I'm going to do a video on it again because my students, I had to stop playing. I said, look, you're just ruining the song. Boof, boof, boof. I wouldn't try it like that. And we went through it one more time. So I'm going to go through it again. I've done a video on it before, but you probably won't find it. It's in the midst of time. So I'm going to go over it again because I think it's important and there's things you can do. So what that is, as far as I can tell, it's the air hitting the diaphragm. Not only hitting the diaphragm, the air hitting this and the air hitting the foam thinner than this, which is underneath, and whatever else is underneath. So what we're trying to do, or what's happening, is the blasts of breath are going through and either getting through and hitting the diaphragm, hitting all this on the way and making noise with turbulence and all sorts of things going on. It all gets a bit noisy. You could use this. Should we see if it's any good? Okay, now I've got my foam on the SM58. Peter Piper picked a peck of pick up. Peter Piper picked, but you see, there's still some of it coming through. What about the who? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. I think I'm not an engineer or scientist. Well, obviously, the air's hitting it, and it's going to make a noise. The air impacts it, so you still get, as the air hits it, the microphone's going to pick that up. I've noticed with the Shure SM7B, which I borrowed a while ago. You might have seen the video, but I've noticed it on podcasts and so on. A lot of it's got huge foam on there, but I can still hear boof, 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 boof. That's the air with that round, with flat top. I think just blast of air doing that. So you could use this. It reduces it somewhat, but then it affects the sound. Everything you put between your voice, the air, which is your voice is the air, and the diaphragm is going to affect the sound. But you've got to have something, because if you try just having a bare diaphragm, you're not going to last 2 seconds, I tell you. But everything you put between it affects it and smears it, and obviously it's dissipating the air. The idea is, I think, to dissipate the blasts, but to let the actual fine stuff through. So it's quite a tricky thing. Well, what can we do? There's a few things. I've mentioned them before, but I'm going to mention them again. Before I mention that, some don't have foam. The Biodynamic M88 has this, I think they call it filigree, and under that there's a very fine mesh, another fine mesh you've got me into, and beneath that a fabric mesh, from what I remember when I've taken the top off them. Might even be another one, I'm not sure. Earthworks did a similar thing with their SR314. I prefer the mesh for its clarity. This has got mesh, no foam, but it does leave you a little bit more exposed. Depends on what you want. So if you're an artist, then you're going to have to learn how to use your instrument. Shall I go through it? Here's what I suggest. Now, the number one cause is the blasts of breath, and also any of these kind of excess breath, shall we say. Blasts of breath and excess. You do need breath, of course, because that's what feeds your voice. However, if there's loads of it around the place, so I'm using loads of breath now, as you can hear, if I say full on, and I talk a bit like that, the breath is very uncontrolled and it's always making a terrible mess of things. So what am I to do? I'm going to tell you what I'm to do. I'm going to control the breath. Traditionally, a couple of things, if I may. Clavicular breathing, chest breathing, as you can imagine, tends to have a bit of this going on. Not so easy to control, though. You can control it. And it tends to have a bit of a blast at the beginning as the chest collapses back down. I give my students this image of a golden bicycle pump. It's golden because gold is heavy, and I quite like gold. I haven't got much of it, but I do like it. It's very useful because it's a conductor and quite pretty, I think. So imagine this golden bicycle pump. And here it is, it's upright. Now, I could use a handle down here, which is gold, but it's quite light because it's small. Not light, but it's not as heavy as the barrel. So I could do this. Yeah, can move it quite easily. As far as the tyre is concerned, it doesn't care whether I do that or whether I move the barrel up. Keep the handle the same. Barrel goes up and down. But the barrel's quite big and heavy and clumsy. But it still does a job of pumping up the tyre. But you can imagine, so there's that. It's slow and clumsy. But that doesn't really affect this. What does affect the pops, whether it's slow and it's clumsy, as long as you're controlling it, doesn't really matter. But what does affect it is if it comes crashing down. So as I say to them, if I lift the barrel of the pump up and it's gold, so it's heavy, and I let go of it, what's going to happen? We know what's going to happen. Boom. Two effects of that. One, if I breathe up here, you can hear what's happened to my voice. So my larynx is starting to close a bit just naturally because it wants to stop all the air coming out. So I get a little bit of strain going on. And the other thing is, and then it all settles down and it's not so good. But people manage very, very well with whatever. The other thing then is this tendency for this to come out at the beginning of the phrases there. A lot of air wants to come out because of the diaphragm's coming down. When you breathe down here, there's none of that. When you need it. When you need it. When you need it. I call it like Muhammad Ali. Floats like a butterfly. Stings like a bee. It's quick. It's athletic. I prefer it. But... So what you're going to do then with this is you're trying to stop the rush of air and the blast of air. The air is controlled by abdominal muscles, diaphragm, or chest as well if you're breathing up here. So you have to try and practice to stop so much of that going on so it comes flying through. What are you going to do without making yourself sad? Well, wherever you breathe, whether it's here or here, here's a couple of things you can do. You can do this. Well, some of the exercises you'll see are like dynamic. You get all this and this. That's great. That gives you that. It gives you the energy in your voice. It gives you the energy in your voice. It gives you the energy in your voice, which you can't get from anything else but the air. So it gives you that. Not so useful for what we're talking about. What we're talking about is maybe working the muscles that can hold back a bit. So you do stuff like this. What am I doing there? Well, you heard what I was doing. Using these muscles to keep the air flow as steady as I can. A couple of things about the noise. The noise is there for me to monitor what I'm doing. So I can hear if it's reasonably steady, whether it's stopped, if it's still there. So, check this is quite important. I feel all this stuff is what I've discovered. I've read and blah, blah, blah. I've discovered for myself. So take it for what it is. One thing you don't want to do is make this aperture so small that you can push against it, like this. So as soon as I open my mouth, because I'm using this to control the air, and I'm pushing against that, as soon as I open my mouth, all the air comes flying out, which is going to happen when I sing, of course, because I have to open my mouth to sing. So something with all singing exercises I would say to you. Look carefully at what they're about and how you're doing them. And if you look to yourself and your intelligence says, but I can't do this when I sing because my mouth's going to be open or it's going to be moving. then what's the point in doing it? There might be a point, but often it's because you're getting it wrong. So there is a point in me doing this. What I'm doing there is I'm working against this because I want to work these muscles. And I might want to involve this as well, working against this. I might do it quite vigorously, but generally speaking, that I know what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing it. But that's not going to give me any help because it's not controlling the air, because I can't control the air up here when I'm singing because it's open. So I need to be able to control the air here. I need to be able to control the air here so it doesn't all come flying out. So you could do that. You could just practice hissing steadily, checking that you're not using this to control it, but you are using the muscles. So basically I can do this. So when I open my mouth, the air doesn't come flying out. It's all being controlled. And when I put this back again, you can hear it. Of course, if I don't put this back here, you can't hear it. You just get this. And I could do it like that if I wanted to do it silently, but it's not so easy. I quite like to hear what's going on. It's not so easy to hear if I've stopped or if I'm letting more out. So the hiss is just a monitor for that. That's one thing you could do. You just sit there and do it. Here's something else that I found quite useful and saves time a bit, is I used to do it when I was walking. So I just walk on my way to wherever I'm going. Don't do it if you're with people, they think you're strange, but you can just walk and go. Holding this back here or wherever you're doing it from, and see how long you get. I got to 30 paces when I started doing it, and I kept on doing it, and in a few weeks I got to 40. I thought, let me see if I can get 50. I got to 50. I thought, let's see where else it goes from here. I got 50, 55, 57, I got 60 paces. So I'm using oxygen as I'm walking, very steadily hissing. I could feel all these muscles holding back. And then I thought, well, let me see where it goes. So I got 60, 63. Next day, 59. Then 62. Next day, 58. So after a while I realised 60 plus or minus is kind of as much as this body can do. Unless I were to go extreme maybe, but it's not about that. So that's one thing you can do. You're walking, you can just do that. Just hold that steady hiss. Make it for yourself. You could even be silent, but be careful. You're not controlling. I'd make the little hiss if you can, but it does mean it's a bit strange if people are with you. Here's another one which I found was good. You might hear about it before. Again to do with walking, all seems to be to do with walking. It's this. Breathe in fully over 5 paces. Hold for 2. This is good because you can really feel the muscles. Hold with the muscles, not with the throat. Watch out, because we don't want this. Just hold. So now I've let go of the muscles. The air's waiting to come out, but I'm just holding with the larynx. And you know why? What did I say earlier? If you can't do it when you're singing, then don't do it, unless you've got a good reason. Watch out. So if you find yourself doing that, when I do these exercises with the students, I love it. I love to catch them out. They don't mind, I don't think. I don't have many left now, but anyway. So when we're doing these, shh, 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 or I go quicker. Shh, 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 shh. They subconsciously, because they're not flexible enough to go at that speed, I hear them doing this. You know what's going on there? Can you hear it? I'll do it one more time. So yeah, I'm just opening and closing. I've got the air pressure. I'm opening and closing my larynx to let the air through because I can do it much quicker. But this, it's about as fast as that can go. Doesn't need to go any faster. So if they're doing that, I have to stop and say, well, there's no point doing that because you can't do that when you sing. So don't bother. Have a glass of wine. Well, they're not old enough, some of them, but do something else. Don't practice something you've then got to go and get rid of. I'll say that one more time. Hallelujah. My advice to you: don't practice in something that you've then got to go and get rid of later. You're better off not doing it in the first place. We all know what it's like when you have a habit or two. So that's my advice about that. Here's that one when you're walking then. So you're going to breathe in fully. I'm going to make a lot of noise. You can do it silently. I'm going to make a noise because otherwise you won't know what's going on. But you can do it silently. You want to be quite quiet with it, really. You don't want to get in the habit of making lots of noise, because it's worth as a bluster as well. You then go every time you breathe in. But I'm making the noise so you know. In over 5. Out over 8. Lord have mercy. Both times when I'm holding with the muscles, because that's what I want to work, that's what I want to develop, that's what I want to get to know, not the throat. Then you can extend it out over a longer period than in. So you're doing 5, 2, 8, 2. Make it 7. In, hold for 2, 10, out. You can do that when you're walking. I try to make sure that I breathe in evenly and fully over those paces, and now I try to make sure that I breathe out completely and evenly, so I get to learn to judge my capacity from this exercise as well. So it's not like I've got loads left at the end and I've breathed out too slowly. But that's why I go at this pace. Don't do too much of it, you'll faint. You'll really feel the muscles. And I did anyway, I really felt the muscles. So you can do a little bit of that, and it's good because you're walking as well. Of course, you can do it silently. Here it is silently, in over 5, hold for 2, out over, no, I'm going to do it in over 7, hold for 2, out over 10, hold for 2. So you won't hear anything very much. There you go, as you're walking. And you're getting somewhere as well. So isn't that great? There you go. I find that they work. They help them with your, at the beginning of a phrase, not having, at the beginning of the phrase, not having, there. Let me demonstrate, see if it works. Let me see if I've got my notes here. I did some research for you. Yeah. So let me see what I've got. Straw. Yeah, some people use a straw. I've been using, there's lots of straw exercises going on. I've been using a straw to ring the changes, really, for me. This issue with a straw, I find it might not be the right diameter, and it might not be the right diameter for different pitches and different rates of flow. So I've got a few straws, I mess around with them. So I find that this, obviously, you can vary it. All that stuff. And people use all that kind of stuff. So you can vary it. You can vary the resistance depending on the notes, depending on how loud it is, where the straw tends to be set, even though I've got a few. But I do find it's just something a bit different, so it keeps me interested, something else to play with. You know what it's like. You get a bit bored with my symphony. Oh, I've got this. Whatever. So that's what I would use. Okay. Demonstration, s'il vous plaît. Here I'm on the 1970s SM58, and I'm going to show you my favourite little Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Oh, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. What did Peter Piper pick? He picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Oof, can you hear all that? Check this though. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. 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 What did Peter Piper pick? He picked a peck of pickled peppers. Reduced somewhat. And you know this as well, which I nearly forgot, thank God I didn't, is I have found from my own experience, can have it there, it's quite a long way away there, you hear what happens, you have to edit that as well, but I've noticed, almost gone completely there, so I put the two together. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. 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 What did Peter Piper pick? He picked a peck of pickled peppers. I trust that I can rest my case. Nothing more to say. I've said it all before. And in this instance, I usually say like Sir Joseph Bazalgette, we're only going to do this once. So he was thorough. My God, was he thorough. So often in my reviews, that's why they go on so long, and this is going on, I know. Because I say I'm only going to do this once. But I might well do this again. Because if I keep hearing my students in a year or two's time with boof, boof, and I'm playing lovely piano as best I can, and it's a lovely song, and I keep hearing boof, 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 I have to stop and say, please. Now, I'm going to finish off by saying this. You may have to practice. Yes, indeedy. You may have to practice. Get yourself some headphones. Get yourself an audio interface. Get yourself a microphone. Practice. Because you don't want to be thinking about all this sort of and when you're on stage. Do you? No. So it needs to become second nature. Now, I'm not boasting. But I'm practicing every day. Well, sometimes I forget. Literally. I realize it comes to the end of the day, I thought, oh, you didn't do it. But not very often. I'm practicing every day. If this man can do it, so can you. If you choose, don't make yourself miserable. Find a way to make it enjoyable is my advice. Okay. See you next time.